What's going on, folks? Welcome back to the Lawn Shark channel. So today we are going to talk a little bit about biostimulants from Greene County Fertilizer. So if you guys have been around long enough to go back and look at some of the videos that I did for my old lawn, which I had Bermuda lawn back then, and at the end of the season, or towards the end of the season, I did a video where I actually laid down on the lawn and I talked a little bit about what the biggest impact for the lawn was in that season. And one of the things that I mentioned was that biostimulants was really the biggest thing that I felt had the biggest impact. And the reason why I felt that way was because it was really the biggest thing that I changed. Normally I would always do, weed control and some fertilizer and some other things, but I never really took into account biostimulants, which really affects the soil quality of your lawn. So that year I had decided to make a little bit of a different change, and I went out to Yard Mastery and I ordered the 4-pack of the biostimulants, and really I think that those things had the biggest impact. I had moved into a brand new house when I bought the house about 6 years ago, and that house had really compacted soil because that's how they build these houses. They put these big tractors on top of it and they compact it, and then they give you what they say is about 6 inches of topsoil, and it really turns out that it's more like 2 inches when it all settles in. And so I had this soil that just wasn't really good quality, to be perfectly honest with you. Well, I introduced a lot of organic material by bringing in a lot of compost, which is the same thing I did in this lawn, and I also added the biostimulants. And so this is actually going to be the first really big application for this new lawn at this house, and I wanted to share a little bit about what it is that I'm going to be putting down. So the biggest one that I'm going to be doing is I actually ran out of Humic Acid. This is one of those things. Humic 12 is one of the products that I use quite a bit in the other lawn, and it really does help in a lot of different ways, especially when it comes to root development. It helps with your soil quality. It helps with your nutrient uptake. It's one of those products that really helps with the plant development as a whole. The other product that I used quite a bit in my other lawn was the MicroGreens. And the reason why I like the MicroGreens is that it has some products in here that you don't normally get out of your regular fertilizer. So typically fertilizer is going to be really good with your nitrogen, your potassium, and your phosphorus. But it really doesn't do very much for all of the other nutrients that your soil and your lawn in general is going to want. And this thing actually has that. So when we look at the label, some of the big things that it has potash, it has magnesium, it has sulfur, copper, iron, manganese. Those are all things that when you do a soil test, you're going to see in that soil test that these are all the other things that show up in that analysis. And to be quite frank, there are very few products out there that actually address those issues. So that's one of the reasons why I really like these microgreens, is because it does help to address those. As far as application is concerned, the way I like to do it is with the hose and sprayer. I've got a lot of people out there that are friends of mine that really hate these things because they do tend to clog up. And I will say that when it comes to the microgreens, it does clog up because there are some bigger particles in here. So the only way that I would tell you to address that is that you can actually adjust the amount of flow rate on this hose end, and I would just open up as much as you can to keep it from clogging up. Now when you do that, that means that you're probably not going to be able to put as much product inside of the container with water. So you're going to want to make sure that you do this over the course of like 3 or 4 applications to cover your entire lawn. I know that's a pain. I typically like to do this once, do it once for the front, once for the back, and be done. But it's probably going to be like 3 or 4 at least for the front and the back in order to cover everything. The application rate for this is about 4 to 8 ounces per 1,000. And so what I'll probably end up doing is putting about 8 ounces and filling it up with water, open this up quite a bit, and then try and get half of my front lawn done. And then I will do, because I've got about 4,000 square feet, so I'll do 2 in the front, 2 in the back, and that should take care of everything. As far as the humic, what I would really like to do is be able to mix these two together and just do it in one shot, but I'm not going to. So it's going to be a busy afternoon as far as application on my lawn, but I think it's worth it. The other thing that I really like about the hose and sprayers is that because there's so much water in there, you're actually doing a really good job of watering it in. And which brings me to another point, which is that because this is really a soil amendment, you don't need to have your lawn grown out because there is no need for foliar absorption, which is why I'm going to mow my lawn first before I apply this, because I just want this stuff to get into the soil. And then once I'm done, even though you do get quite a bit of water application when you do this, I am going to turn on my sprinklers and make sure that it gets really watered in. I personally like to turn on my sprinklers and get a lot of water into my lawn right after I mow. just because I think you're stressing out the lawn a little bit, and it helps to give it a little bit of a sip of water, especially when it's starting to get hot. Today really isn't that bad, to be honest with you, here in Franklin, but it will start getting hot. I am seeing some stress on my lawn, and so, you know, I am watering it quite a bit more, but, you know, this actually helps quite a bit because of the fact that we are putting nutrients in the lawn and we are getting quite a bit of water. So with all that being said, first thing we're going to do is we're going to go around and we're going to mow the lawn, and then we'll come back to get this thing all put together and start putting it on the lawn. Alright folks, now that we finished mowing the lawn and everything is looking a lot better, as you can tell behind me, I've got the sprinklers going just to get the ground a little bit wet. It's been pretty dry lately. We were supposed to get rain a couple days ago and it never really happened. So I figured I'd wet the grass and the ground a little bit to help, because you don't ever want to put this down when the ground is super dry. It's just not going to absorb as well. So if you have it a little bit wet, I'm not talking like super soaking wet, like where you're muddy, but where it's a little bit wet, it's going to help a little bit. So the first one I'm going to start with is the MicroGreens. It's going to be the one that's a little bit thicker, and I'm going to use it first just because the Humic will help kind of wash things out of the hose sprayer. So we'll start with this one, and I'm going to go at 8 ounces per 1,000. I'm just going to put it in here. It's its own little measuring thing on the side, so it makes it really super easy. Fill it up the rest of the way with water, and then I'll start in the front, and we'll do 2 applications up there, 2 applications in the back, and then actually by the time I'm done in the front, I can get to the back. The sprinkles will be off, and then we'll move over to the Humic. It's nothing really hard. You've seen me do this before, but we'll just get to it and knock it all out, and then we'll come back and chat at the end. And one more thing. I use gloves. Nothing really toxic here that you need to worry about, but this stuff will stain you. We've talked about this with lots of these products before. If you don't use gloves, I mean, you don't have to, but unless you want like big black streaks running through your hands, I would suggest you wear gloves. So let's get to it. Alright, well that's pretty much it with the MicroGreens. That stuff clogs up super easy. There's some big particles. I need to remember when I get back to the Humic that I need to close that down just a little bit because it does come out really fast, but that's the only way you can keep it from getting too terribly clogged. One thing I did learn this time, and I've used these for years and I've never tried it, was to loosen it a little bit when it gets down to the bottom and to get those big particles, and I think it actually allows a lot more airflow, so it'll actually, you know, pull that stuff through. So that seemed to work a little bit better, and I'll have to remember that next time I use this stuff. So with that, we're going to go on to the Humic 12, and the amount that we use for this is actually 3 to 9 ounces per 1,000, and which is pretty much what I'm going to use here. I'm going to go with the maximum of 9 ounces because I haven't put this stuff down yet this year, so we're going to go ahead and go with the max. And you know, the lawn is starting to struggle a little bit, especially in the back with this perennial ryegrass. We've had some pretty hot days lately, so everything and anything that I can do to help out, I'm going to do that. So let's just go with the maximum for now, and then we'll come back and probably lower some of that dosage as we get into the middle parts of the summer. So let's get going. Alright folks, well we are pretty much done. It takes a lot longer to do when you have to do multiple applications for the same lawn, especially since it's only 4,000 square feet. That being said, the MicroGreens took 4 applications and the Humic actually was a little bit less. It was only 3, and I probably could have done it in 2 if I had moved a little bit faster, but I didn't have a problem with putting a little bit extra down on the lawn and making sure that it got watered in. Next step is to make sure that we get some water on here. I'll turn on the sprinkler again, and then it's supposed to go off again tonight. So I don't have a problem with putting too much water. It's been dry, it's been hot. It's not too hot today, but the temperatures are going to continue to go up, and with that we are going to have to adjust our watering and making sure that we have plenty of nutrients in the grass so that it can develop properly. If you guys are interested in any of these products, I'll put a link in the description so that you can go check them out over at Yard Mastery. Keep in mind that these are affiliate links. I do make a couple bucks off of any sales. Don't feel like you need to use my link. You can just go and do your own searches if that makes you more comfortable. But I'm happy to help if I can. And hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys have a great week and a great weekend. If you like this video, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. I really appreciate all the subscribers that are out there and all the support you guys are giving me. And if you want to be notified of future videos, don't forget to hit that bell, and we'll see you on the next one. Have a great week, everybody.